The whole aim in a VC journey, in the first part of it definitely, is to figure out what's the right business model. And we realized the power of the internet at that point, that you could in Whitefield area build so much traffic digitally that by the time come the moment of truth, when you open the store, everybody's flocking in to buy. And then seeing a lot more people come by and want to see what the hell is going on over here. And that's how we really became successful. And what it taught us a lot is that efficiency matters a lot. And if you think about it, that let's say 2 billion as the worst, as this business is, it's been created in the last 14 years with a total capital of 400 crores. So that's a very good, efficient business model. So we literally have done customer lifecycle management and built this catalog which goes all the way through, learning from the SaaS companies, because we sit in Chennai and this is in many
SaaS
ways
capital of India.
The SaaS capital of India. While everybody else has a 1 or 2 year horizon, I have a big strategic advantage because I keep everything with a minimum 7 year horizon. And when he does the 7 year horizon, time becomes the biggest ally. And I think Tatas have that as well. So think about Netflix. When people say no for a movie, it's far more insightful than when people give a thumbs up for a movie on that. And they put a lot more value to it. And if you take that to real life, then you think about it, that people should learn to help other people by saying no to them, because in the long run, they all have to believe that guy also has only one life. I will work on helping Tanishq guys also do better service, but don't make me say things or don't say things which will make me lose my job. So.
Hi, this is Siddharth Aluwalia. Welcome to 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. Today I have with me Mithun, founder of Caratlane. Mithun, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, and thank you for having me here.
So Caratlane is such a loved brand across India, right? You disrupted the jewellery market by bringing in great designs, more affordable jewellery. And I think you also rethought how, earlier people think that jewellery is expensive, right? It starts from a certain range. But you brought it down to, for the middle class, right? How did you do it?
In my life, there are certain words I struggle with: hate, disrupt, all of this. I don't think we really disrupted it. I think there was a hungry market out there.
Okay.
Underserved market out there. And if you think about the mean income of an Indian, and you think about how many people are buying jewelry at the current price point, you realize that there were a lot of people who are underserved or unserved, both. And that is the opportunity that I think as we built the business, we learned more about and we sort of went after. Luckily, I'm in an industry where a lot of people don't like change too much. And so they didn't react fast enough. And we got a big runway to sort of go and build this category out.
I think you were the first to bring the 18 karat across the industry, right? Earlier it used to be 22, 24.
No, I wouldn't say that. There were enough people doing it, but maybe I think...
Not at scale.
What we were first at for sure is that we introduced designs at a price point where people didn't consider creating design. There's a Hindi saying, Ki itne mein itna hi. That used to be the philosophy of when people wanted to buy a 20,000 rupee piece of jewelry. And our belief was that design must be democratized. Whatever you buy must have a thought behind it, must have design behind it, must have usability behind it. All this must be thought through, and you got to solve for all of this as well. And I think that platform we've stuck to and sort of built the business out. So if you see, our biggest contribution maybe to the jewelry business is that we've been market makers more than people who are going after market share on that part. And I think market share guys are a bit more disruptors. Market makers, I feel, are cooler than that.
Okay. So Mithun, let's step back. And can you describe us the jewellery market of India in its all glory?
Let's divide the jewellery market into certain sections. The largest piece of the jewellery market is the plain gold jewellery business. That's an area which is the largest piece, and we frankly don't even exist in it yet. This is where people for years have invested in gold. They haven't looked at it as adornment alone. You can say 70% of the thought process is investment and 30% of the thought process is adornment in that. You think about the next phase, which is, the traditional arts of India, which is in Jaipur, you have Jadao, in South, you have temple jewelry, and so on and so forth in all other parts of India. That possibly is another 25% of the market. And that 25% of the market is very ethnic. Indians love to wear from different parts of the world, and that's why that market keeps growing, and we all enjoy that. The third part of this business is the diamond jewelry market. Now, that market is just about 50 years old and possibly the fastest growing piece in this. It also has great value addition for everybody. And if you think that society is modernizing, you would see a lot more people wanting to wear diamond jewelry as well, because our clothing is so westernized now as compared to where we used to be before. And we are, at the end of the day, jewelry is an accessory that complements what you wear. In the diamond jewelry piece, you can say now you've reached at about a 50% investment, 50% adornment sort of value proposition on that. And if you take all of India, and I'm not getting into fine jewelry and fashion jewelry and all of that, but if you take all of India, we make up about 2 to 2.5% of this country's GDP, which is a very large part.
And that would be what number in crores?
And it's what, 4.5, 5 lakh crores is the base estimate on something like that. In our economy, that's a very large number. The beauty of this country, and I'll give you a stat of this 2.5% of GDP. For the rest of the world, global average is 0.3 to 0.5. So we are 5x to 8x of this number. And there's a beautiful story behind it as to why we are the way we are as well also. If you read Chanakya Niti ever, and a friend of mine made me do that once, Chanakya said that beautifully, where he said, 25% of your wealth must be in the form of gold, because you don't know when you'd have to run. That's your bet against your own government. And see how it plays out, right? You had kingdoms back then. You don't know, one kingdom gets overthrown by another kingdom, and then all those people who are from one religion or one area have to run to somewhere else. You can't run with your land. You have to run with your gold at that point. The second piece that happens is, look at Ukraine right now. What could people have left with? And I think that's created one big jump as well in gold consumption across. If you see pre-Ukraine war prices of gold as well as other commodities, and now you'd see that it's the only one that's gone up. Everything else has possibly stagnated or gone down in itself. So I think there's a lot of value to the Indian philosophy of doing this, and that's why we're at 2.5% of GDP.
And when you started Caratlane, you come from a business background, right, which has been in jewelry. So which part of India you belonged originally to?
Well, originally, I've never lived there, belonged to Rajasthan.
Okay.
I grew up in Bombay, and yes, my formative years were, when you're basically a graduate BCom, in some sense, in that part of time, at least we felt we were uneducated. And there was not much that I had interest in. And my parents ran a jewelry business, and it was daunting to get into, but I at least had that safety net, and I got into it. And over a period of time, I just fell in love with it.
So your parents had a jewelry store?
Yes.
In which
Bombay,
part?
In Bombay, by the name of Jaipur Gems.
Okay.
And me and my brother both are products of whatever we understand about jewelry. We've got a lot of formal training, but most of it is thanks to our mother.
Okay.
So we're in many ways products of excellent apprenticeship with my mom.
And from which year to which year you're part of the family business?
Oh, so I'm the second child in a Marwari family, and that is 100% disguised unemployed kid. So I moved to Chennai in 2000, just after my graduation.
Okay.
And just after my graduation and after my professional studies in gemology and jewelry manufacturing. Because my 1 month that I spent time in Bombay, I realized very early that Marwari parents are young. So imagine mom and dad at 45, 46 working in the store. Brother older than me has joined the business. I was like a matinee show. I was basically going there to carry lunch and then come back, and I realized there is not much value add I'm going to do to this whole thing. So I said, look, I'm going to go somewhere else and, build a store out. So I moved to Chennai, and I built my parents' business out, an extension of that in Chennai in 2000 to about 2008. I was doing that.
And what insight that you started with Caratlane? Because you were in traditional jewelry business, right?
There was a beautiful business called Blue Nile that I really enjoyed watching in America. I had some interaction over there because to earn some pocket money, I used to do some brokerage, and my business, not my business really, but my activity over there was getting disrupted by this business. And I felt that there was an opportunity of marrying the internet from a marketing standpoint to the merchandise that we want to sell. And that insight is really what we carried through and sort of built it. But when you're in your late 20s, as Scott Fitzgerald says it beautifully, you look at the world from top of a mountain. Every opportunity is a rolling stone. And now in my 40s, I sit in a cave and want to protect what we've built. So I was in my 20s, didn't think so much, just thought that this is a great opportunity. I should go and build that part.
So you were, I think, one of the first, right, when Flipkart was getting built. You were building the e-commerce store for jewelry.
Imagine if I really did think,
Yeah.
would I have done this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2008 is when you started
Yeah.
Caratlane.
Yeah. 2008, October 13th, 15th, somewhere around that date.
Hi everyone, before we begin, I would like to share that this podcast is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amit Somani, Shripati Acharya, and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category defining tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare, and education, such as MyGate, Quizzes, Planet Spark, Bolt, and Clip. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in.
What were the first few pivots that you had to make? Or the first few journeys, right? The product journeys. What was the...
Yeah. So it took us way too long to build a website, frankly. And I came from a traditional family. And so to convince everybody that I'm running a really successful jewelry business in Chennai, it was really successful back then. So imagine in 2008 to have a 80 crore business,
Wow.
making 10 crores of profit, and to say that, no, I want to go and build something else. And nobody else here as a family member. So I'm going to professionalize that. I'm going to build another business and do that. And you can imagine the reaction of that in a Marwari family. Not too great, right? So I had to convince my family that give me 4 years of my life,
Yeah.
and let's agree on a bunch of money as stop loss. So time and money became a stop loss. We agreed on that. And with that philosophy of 4 years and 75 lakhs of investment, we agreed to sort of go out and build this business. That was the deal I made with my family. So that's just really how it all started. That was my first big battle.
Yeah.
And I still think oftentimes they undervalue the role of family because they overvalue their own role.
Yeah.
But my family put the stop loss parameters around me through a great conversation. And I'll always be grateful for that.
Back then, there was absolutely no internet in India, right? Only I think thousands or lakhs of people would have access to a broadband in 2008.
It just shows how young you are. But no, there were lakhs of people who had it. It was not the thousand. There was broadband.
Broadband
everywhere.
was
Yeah, it was there everywhere. It was not a dial-up.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't difficult basically to find people on the internet. But there was not e-commerce really happening.
Yeah.
Transactions were a challenge, and that's going to be a problem.
And Yahoo was the main mail as well as the chat medium.
Gmail had begun
Yeah.
significantly by then. I don't think Yahoo was still the main thing, but Yahoo was prominent at least at that point. Hotmail was still around, and we would speak about that as well also. Bing wasn't there. Indians were really not onto Facebook. There was also Orkut. There was ICQ Messenger.
Yeah.
There are all these kind of things which the world doesn't even see anymore also.
And you were just touching your 30s.
I was just about touching, yeah. I was just 30. I think my daughter was born at that time. I was 30. My daughter was born. I had just finished my executive MBA at IIM Bangalore, and I decided to start Caratlane at the same time. So,
And you took a pause on your previous business that you had built in Chennai, or that was also
no,
continuing?
it's still running. So I never took a pause on that. If you think about the two businesses as well, they're both design-led. So that makes life that much easier. They both focus on very different customer segments. So if you have a thought, you just have to choose which of the business is better aligned for that customer segment and work towards that. It didn't come in the way. One didn't come in the way. In fact, I would say that Jaipur Gems always complemented my efforts to build Caratlane. In the first 7-8 years, there was a lot of help from there.
Got it. So tell us about the first 4 to 5 years of Caratlane.
Let me talk about the first 3 months.
Sure.
It took us 11 months to build a website,
Yeah.
first thing, because there was no Shopify. There was literally no Magento at that point. There was something called OS Commerce, and that's what we were building it on. And we built it in a manner which I think wasn't the best way to build it. But my co-founder then, Srinivasa Gopalan, his firm, Lister Technologies, was building that
Sure.
out for us. That really helped us sort of get ahead. But at the same time, they lacked expertise in web applications. And because they lacked expertise in web applications, it cost us a lot more than we would have liked. Can you imagine building a website in 2008 cost us almost 1 crore rupees?
It's impossible.
Yeah. And that
to spend
kind
so
of
much on
money-
a website.
Yes. Today you wouldn't even think like,
Yeah.
what were you even thinking and
Yeah.
doing? And that's what platforms have really done today,
Yeah.
that make it available to you for literally nothing on that. The second battle came to convince Blue Dart. Like, you got to ship jewelry
Yeah.
from here to there. Can you carry these parcels and take it across further? They're like, why would I do this? I mean, this high value, it's high risk.
Low volume.
Low volume. It just doesn't work with our philosophy. But we really had to convince them. I mean, at this time, we were convincing Blue Dart. There was another courier company called Skypack, and they sort of helped us. The competitive environment that made Blue Dart do it for us as well. The third was the bank. And I remember the first transaction that happened, which took a few months. And, a person, I don't want to name the customer, but he was buying a pair of solitaires for his mom, and he was in Japan.
Yeah.
And when he wanted to buy this for his mom, he tried to swipe on a payment gateway and it wouldn't go through.
Yeah.
Then we discovered that HDFC had a lock of 10,000 rupees for anything which is a foreign payment. So we had to go to them, their office, trying to convince them that please accept this payment. This is a genuine customer. We want to do this transaction. We had to give them a 5 lakh rupee deposit for them to accept that money and allow that to happen, because there was no CC Avenue and all were not even interested in our business at that point. They weren't even looking at it. So we had to set up couriers, convince them. We had to set up payment gateways, convince them. We had to house a website. We could not even build on a platform or anything. Those were the challenges of the early days. And the best part is, you imagine you get everything ready and you open your shop and you want to do business. I don't know if any of you have seen this old Hindi movie called Jaane Bhi Do Yaro. And there are these two guys, very funny guys, who open a camera store and nobody shows up.
Nasruddin Shah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened to us. For the first 2 months, nobody showed up. And that's when I learned a very big lesson in life, that just because you open a shop doesn't mean it's your birthright that customers will come to shop there. And that lesson is such an important lesson that today you have to, when you build a product, you got to think a lot as to why the customer will come to buy there. And I think that was a very big moment for us. We realized 3-4 months into it that this is going to be a long game.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to do this in a short time. And so we got to solve for cash flow. We don't have that much money. 75 lakhs I put in, 26 lakhs Gopal's company put in. We had some more loans, etc. that we'd agreed on. So how much would we stretch? Maybe 1.5, going beyond that. So we went and convinced Titan at that point to saying that, look, we've built this repository of solitaires real time from everybody else.
It was just solitaires back
at that point. It was jewelry also, but for them what made sense for B2B was solitaires. And you guys are not able to sell solitaires. We can bring this live feed into your store and we'll run the supply chain, everything for it, and we'll make a fixed markup on it. So with a lot of resistance from the buying team, because they would see it as an expensive buying solution, to the point that the marketing team understood that this is not a buying solution, this is a selling tool, which helps the store to be able to sell based on real-time information. They took that on after 1 year of convincing. And that once took on, and then, we trained about, the pilot was 12 stores, supposed to be 1 year, but instead in 2 months, it became 50 stores.
Okay.
We really built a robust cash flow for ourselves. And that's where the cash kept coming in, that we kept deploying back into building our consumer business. Till about 2011 when Tiger Global came in, and life just changed for us after that.
So what was the first check from Tiger Global?
6 million.
And that
we didn't raise seed or angel or Series A. We just didn't do much of that stuff because of this Titan cash flow that we were doing. Yeah. We basically built a positive cash flow business then. They would pay us in 7 days and we would pay the vendors in 60 days. So that 53 days of free cash flow that we created, we built our business on that.
So what you were able to build for Titan is a live catalog on a computer for their set of customers, where the customer would place the order. Yeah. It was a white label solution, as I understand.
Think of it a bit like Amadeus or Galileo in the travel business. So they have all the airlines whose feed is running on their platform. And they would give a pipe to make my trip, clear trip, everybody else across. And that's really how it would play out. That's really what we built for the jewelry business, except that it was unbranded. So they didn't know who the supplier was. Yeah.
And it was coming in finally Titan branding or Caratlane branding?
It was sold as Titan brand. We would sell it to Titan as a B2B.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this made you, let's say, for example, few crores in revenue a year?
50 crores.
50 crores in revenue. By when?
By year 2.
Year 2, which is like 2010.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. 2011 maybe.
Yeah. And then when did you...
Because we really started in 2008 October. So we count 9 onwards as revenue years.
So 1150 crores you were doing. This is GMV or revenue?
We always looked at revenue only.
Okay.
Netto taxes. Everything.
Got it. So 50 crores in revenue is almost like 10 million at that.
Yeah. But it's B2B revenue. So you don't look at it the same way as a B2C business.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, even B2B businesses get funded like that. But at that time, Tiger was not interested in that business at all.
Okay.
Their entire interest was in what we could do using a thought process on the consumer side of the business. And that's what we were building out.
So once you took money from Tiger, you launched the B2C side of it.
We already had a B2C site. Our revenue was very small.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think in 2011-12, our revenue was about 12 crores at that point.
Okay.
And so we kept building that on from there. And Tiger was with us from then to 2016. And when they left, we'd grown about 10x or 12x. We were at 140 crores of revenue by then.
Yeah. So, but 2011, you were already at 50, right? Combined revenue.
Yeah.
And from 50 to...
I'm only speaking the consumer revenue.
Okay.
So the 12 crores of consumer revenue went to
40 crores.
125 to 40, somewhere between that. My memory fades exact number at that point.
And what happened to the B2B part?
That kept coming down.
Okay.
That kept coming down because Titan saw that as a risk as well at their end. And we also didn't focus on growing that part. We actually had only one customer. We never even built a second customer for that business because the job that was supposed to do was already done.
Yeah.
And we had managed to build the cash flow needed and then raise capital to build this out as well. So it was absolutely fine for us.
That's an amazing journey, right? Being a 50 crore business, then raising a $10 million, which was like almost 50 crores back then.
Yeah. But I mean, the way to look at it, and I've always looked at top line in the jewelry business is overrated.
Yeah.
You should look at it from a gross margin point of view. And so at 50 crores, we were doing 5-6%. It was more the cash flow which was interesting. The 53 days of free cash made it very exciting for us because that means you could do a lot of things in 53 days. And on a rising base, you could have that run infinite.
Dear listeners, if you have been following our podcast, you would have been hearing about Zoho Payroll. Zoho Payroll's mission is to democratize payroll technology for everyone. Hence, they have made a free version of Zoho Payroll for startups and businesses who have up to 10 employees. It has all the features to automate payroll compliance, salary calculations, payments, and much more to pay salaries on time. You can use it for free forever, no questions asked. Even as a startup, give your employees a great payroll experience right from the start. Check out the link in the description to know more about Zoho Payroll. Thank you.
Tell us the journey after Tiger.
So, Tiger gave us money to experiment a lot.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about it. The whole aim in a VC journey, in the first part of it definitely, is to figure out what's the right business model. And it took us about 4 years to figure it out from 12 to 16 what the right model was. And we figured out that the true model for us is that people are engaging tremendously with us digitally. But when it comes to the moment of truth, they want to have a trial. So we built a great try-at-home business. We had built a very nice set of stores, of which the first few were rank failures. But we didn't give up, and we sort of remodeled them again and built those out. Till in 2014, I think I remember when our Bangalore store opened somewhere in August 2014. That could be a few months here or there off, where that store opened, and I think the first Sunday, the second Sunday, we would close the shutters down. And we realized the power of the internet at that point, that you could in Whitefield area build so much traffic digitally that by the time come the moment of truth, when you open the store, everybody's flocking in to buy. And then seeing a lot more people come by and want to see what the hell is going on over here. And that's how we really became successful. So by 2015, we had that model figured out. And 2015, Tiger decided to put another 30 million in the business. Every time we would get money, we'd try and reach out to Titan and say that, hey, would you guys want to participate in this round? And so in 2015, towards the end, they said that, yeah, we want to participate. And the journey then went on where that they bought out Tiger Global. And in 2016, we became, a part of the Titan family. And, it's 140 crores in revenue then, 150 crores, something like that.
So at that point of time, I remember you were valued at 600 crores.
Yeah, 570 crores to be precise.
So they bought out Tiger for 200 or 250 CR. 350 CR.
They owned 62% of the business then. So
Tiger owned?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because every time they put money, obviously, it costs us. So, yeah. And Titan only did a secondary, no primary.
Okay.
Yeah. They didn't put any money in the business.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, 2016, you became the single largest shareholder, individual shareholder, except Titan.
Yeah, I mean, I always was.
You were always were.
Yeah, always was.
But people assume that after acquisition, founder sells the part of the equity.
Yeah, so what happened was, I, in the first year, found it very challenging to work with Titan. Very, very challenging. And I attribute those challenges a lot to myself also. You walk into a relationship with a business, sometimes thinking way too much
Yeah.
of what you'll get as opposed to what's realistically
Yeah.
possible, because they have their own business to run. They're not opened a school,
Yeah.
right, to come and teach me how to run my
Yeah.
business as well also. So I found it very challenging. And I remember I went to meet Rakesh Jhunjhunwala one evening, and I call him Mama. It's just a relationship that we developed over the years. And so I said, Mama, I'm fed up, man. I don't know if I can do this anymore. So he says, okay, where's the business? What's going on? He said, you're growing. What's the problem? I said, these relationship issues and, what I expected I'll get, I'm not getting. And then they questioned me about it.
Yeah.
And then present their own plan, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Like a spoiled child, I was crying. And so he says, okay, come home at night. We'll go out for dinner.
Yeah.
We go for dinner. There are a few other people on the table, Ramesh Damani, there's, Pal Sheth, and there's a few other, big guys from the stock market guys. So he tells me to explain one of them, what is the business I'm building? What is the opportunity I see? And what's it going to be like if we did this thing? I remember Raamdeo Agrawal explained to me, and he said that, look, if you build this business for the next 5 years at a 40% CAGR and you make it profitable, you will get a 100x return. And that's what happens in every business from this stage onwards. So now you think whether it's convenient for you to deal with these problems, and is it worth the 100x or
Yeah.
it's not? I left that meeting so charged and everything. I went back, and a few weeks later, my co-founder and me were chatting, and I ended up buying him out. So here I went into a dinner wanting to take advice to sell my business, and I ended up getting so charged that I ended up, talking to him. And I think the difference was that he wasn't there in that meeting. And since he was never operational in the business, he had seen great money from it. So he decided to exit. And I had a chance to buy him out. Thanks to Titan. They lent me the money to buy him out.
Wow.
They would have obviously liked me to have more skin in the game.
Yeah.
So they did that at that point.
So you were what, a 38% shareholder after this buying out your co-founder back then?
I was about 35%, somewhere
Got
around that maybe. Yeah. And then over a period of time, Titan then did a secondary another primary in 2018.
Yeah.
They put 99 crores in the company, and we were really shafted on that valuation. And that cost me a lot at that point. But, they've also helped me buy the other equity as well. While the two are different things, in my mind, I reconciled with that thought and sort of moved on with it. So that cost us, and then, we were left with 28% by the end of it.
And today you are doing 2,400 crores in revenue.
Yeah, we will do about 2,300 crores, somewhere on that in revenue, 10% EBIT as a business, 200 crores in profit.
So today, 2,300 crores in revenue. How many stores were when you were acquired, and how many today?
13 stores then. That's what we figured out at that point, that this is the model. In these pin codes you target and you open your stores over here, you're going to build a great business in geographical terms. And so we expanded that model, and first with 20 stores, 25 stores a year, till we got full confidence that it works. And now we're going to do 80 to 90 stores a year this year.
What is the total number of stores as of?
180 stores as we speak at this point. But if you think about all other businesses, 180 stores here give you 2,300 crores of revenue.
Yeah.
So the throughput per store is excellent. And the gross margin per store is also excellent.
So online is just the front-facing part of it where people discover.
Oh, no. It's a very large part of the business even today. But the only difference is that even if you order online and pick up in store, we'd rather
store
deal
transaction.
with it, store transaction. But the difference between many other businesses which are in the similar segment but not able to crack and become as large or grow as fast, we've had a CAGR of 55% for the last 6 years, is the digital engine. Without that, I don't think it would be the same.
So you took Raamdeo Agrawal advice and took the business from 40% CAGR to 60% CAGR.
Yeah, that just happened. So, yeah, you'd pray that it happens, but it happened, yeah. And at 60, I wonder, why couldn't we have done 70?
Yeah.
Human psyche is like that.
And the company today is valued at what, $2 billion?
We'd be disappointed at 2 billion, but okay. See, when you don't raise money, you don't get spoken about the same way. When I was disappointed with the valuation, when I mentioned about in 2018 end, I think even Titan realized I was disappointed. So I made it a point that we will not raise money ever again.
Yeah.
Because as a loss-making business with a strategic investor, it's very difficult to make them understand that. They're not used to that kind of model. And so we just put our head down, decided that we'll work everything out of our P&L and not out of our balance sheet, and build an entire business out of that. And that's what we ended up doing. And what it taught us a lot is that efficiency matters a lot.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, that let's say 2 billion at the worst, I mean, as this business is, it's been created in the last 14 years with a total capital of 400 crores.
Yeah.
So that's a very good, efficient business model. And if you think, I can tell you in writing that out of that 200 crores, I just destroyed in bad decisions. So really, 200 crores is what gives you that kind of returns. A lot of us have a lot to think about, that what do we really do with the capital when it comes from VCs. Yeah.
So I would call then Caratlane to be the first scale D2C brand of India.
No, Lenskart's also there.
Yeah.
And there is, Boat, and there are a few others as well also. See, the race to be the first is an overrated race.
Yeah.
I think we are one of the most, you must always have peers. Would you want to be the only man on moon?
No.
Like, why? Right?
You would come back.
Yeah. You'd come
Just
back.
touch the moon and come back.
So this race to first is not an exciting race. You want to be with the elite group and sit over there. And I feel proud that we are one of the elite group brands around. And I feel happy for those who are part of the journey.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of a smug on my face when I see those who didn't agree to invest in the business as well also. So, but they're all great friends. And it's been a great journey.
Yeah. But building this part, right, the playbook to build the offline stores, has it been created before in India in a D2C first brand?
I don't know. I think we were the first ones to get off the blocks, but I will admit to it that Lenskart grew a lot faster than that. I think they did a very good job in terms of setting the pace of growth as well also. But, each business has its own constraints. When I said that we won't raise capital, then our ability to sort of deviate from plan became very low.
Yeah.
And when you have the kind of money that they had available, I mean, they could afford to take the losses and do it as well if something went wrong. So that risk-taking ability we didn't have. Our stop loss would have hit a lot sooner.
Got it. So what's next? A $1 billion revenue mark for you?
Oh no, I think we've set ourselves 5 years, 10,000 crores. I mean, I think more than $1 billion, unless the rupee further depreciates and goes in that direction. But and a 20% EBIT business is a long-term healthy business, so we want to work towards that. That's now the financial side, but that's not the exciting stuff. The exciting stuff is what are we going to do for the customer? And, till now, we made a product available, a design available and a certain price point and made that happen. And my co-founder Avnish, who I have a huge respect for, he's a voracious reader, and he got me thinking with this whole jobs to be done sort of theory. And we realized that while going through that whole process that why do people really buy jewelry? And he'd ask me this question all the time, but why do you think people are buying jewelry? And I'd be like, why do you have a problem that they're buying jewelry, right? And but that question was a lot deeper than that. And finally, we figured out, at least, in one of my moments, I had this eureka moment where I kind of spoke to him about, and I think together we articulated it, where people really buy jewelry to express an emotion. 70,000 people in a particular quarter in Caratlane had given gift cards. Those gift cards are personalized messages, but typed by a computer and sent across. What is the possibility that that typed message means something to them as opposed to a handwritten message? A handwritten would mean a lot more. People lose these messages, which are the computer typed. And if I was to ask you, what did you give a loved one on your first anniversary or, on a 15th birthday or something like that? And what is the message that you exactly gave? There are enough chances of one of the two forgetting what it exactly was. So we need to solve this problem. And as we've been working on it, we now want to solve for emotions that way. Say that these emotions have to be permanently marked on that piece of jewelry and not in more than what is currently done across. And that's become our mission for the next 5 to 10 years. That we are going to help people express emotions through this beautiful form factor called jewelry. Because if you want to express an emotion, you choose jewelry as a form of, you do this only for someone you really care for. You don't go gifting jewelry just randomly like that. So it deserves that effort put in by the business as well to make sure this emotion stays for life.
Wow. How will you measure the business now? So one is revenue part.
Yeah.
What are the other things?
So, what I love about different businesses when you see around is that we think of ourselves a bit like a SaaS business when it comes to customer lifecycle management. And you'll appreciate that because
Yeah.
you love to invest in SaaS businesses. A lot of jewelry businesses have a very low repeat rate. Now, I'm going to redefine repeat rate from a jewelry context and not from a SaaS context or from a D2C context. Of all the people who bought jewelry up to 31st March 2022, for example, how many will buy in the next financial year? If you were to look at this metric,
Yeah.
which is compounding in some sense in
Yeah.
your business, right? What do you think is the average for a jewelry business?
Would be 15 to 20%.
3.5%, 4%. 4% of your lifetime customers shop in the current year that you're looking to buy. That's how bad it is. Once we understood that, we realized that we are completely missing out on compounding. And I think we were at 9% at that point. So what does it take to make somebody buy again? And it's not like that person is not buying, right?
Yeah.
That person is buying, but it's just going somewhere else and buying. So and why does he go and buy somewhere else? Because his need is not fulfilled by what you're doing, or somebody else is attracting you better than that. Now, when you're digital, you can attract better than somebody else. Need not being fulfilled means catalog is not matching on whatever are the occasion. So we decided to design our business to be the best solution for a customer between their first anniversary to their 15th anniversary. Every occasion that comes across, we will have something solved for that. Every keyword that the customer thinks of, between the first and the 15th anniversary, we will have a solution for that. So if I was to ask a customer between first and fifth anniversary, the answers I get is hoops, I'll get huggies, I'll get studs, I'll get dangling earrings, I'll get fifth anniversary, so I might get the man is thinking about a solitaire and things like that. So it's a catalog which solves for each of these things. Somebody will have a child, childbirth jewelry, which is Nazaria and different things also solve for that. Child is 3 years old. We have the rights for Peppa Pig. A 3 to 4 year old kid is always in the Peppa Pig zone in India. 7 to 8 years in Doraemon, that's with Caratlane also.
Yeah.
All the way to a teenager, which is Harry Potter, that's with Caratlane as well also. So we literally have done customer lifecycle management and built this catalog, which goes all the way through, learning from the SaaS companies, because we sit in Chennai and this is in many
SaaS
ways
capital of India.
the SaaS capital of India. And we sort of built that whole business out. And that, which is the average of industry, is 4%. We are now at 25% repeat rate. And so 25% of our lifetime customers will shop again this year. And that's massive compounding if you think about from a business perspective. So big metric for us to look at. Number of customers and how do we solve for them. We've set ourselves a goal of 10 million customers when we are at the 10,000, but it looks more likely that we should set ourselves on 50 million now, because there are things happening at Caratlane as we speak, which are going to deliver that kind of number in maybe a year itself also. And so 50 million customers, 10,000 crores of revenue, 20% EBIT, 25% repeat rate, all fantastic metrics. And above all, I would love to see this become India's largest direct-to-consumer business. World's largest direct-to-consumer business. India's largest we already are, but it has to become the world's largest. Because you think about the jewelry business, like software is to the rest of the world, right? We are the back end for everybody. The services make such a big part of this country's. Jewelry also is like that. India is the back end for the rest of the world. About 40% of jewelry sold in America is made in India. 9 out of 10 diamonds sold in the world are made in India. But we capture only 8% of gross margin of the world. It's time that we move something forward. And that only happens when you take brands ahead and not wholesale ahead. And our aim is to do that.
And today, right, Titan is I believe, a $70 billion valued brand in the market.
About 20 billion.
20 billion.
Yeah, 24 billion to be precise.
And you are almost like a 10% part of it today.
Yeah.
Right. And this has all happened in the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, so when we came in, we were 0.1. At 20,000 crores, we were at 140 crores of sales, 0.4, whatever that number was. Today, we are nearing about 8-10% on that. But that happens, right? When something runs right, then the number that you get is significantly stronger. And together we are that. Individually not. So you can't take that credit away from the fact that it's been a great partnership. There's a massive entrepreneurial spirit at Caratlane, and there's a great strategic value that Titan brings in. And the combination of two, I think the world should take notice of when two of these forces combine, what can happen.
It's a rare, right? How Tata Group is able to marry the entrepreneurs to the business. Still after the acquisition, we have seen it again, right? 1MG, Big Basket, Caratlane. Why do you think they are able to do it and not anybody else?
Well, I think we have to wait and see how it all plays out. But the intent that they have is amazing because, they're manager driven in many cases. and they're looking to build businesses for perpetuity. When you're looking to build businesses for perpetuity, time is your biggest ally. In fact, Avnish was telling me about a Jeff Bezos comment when we were talking about it. He says, Mithun, it just sounds a lot like that, right? He says, while everybody else has a 1 or 2 year horizon, I have a big strategic advantage because I keep everything with a minimum 7-year horizon. Yeah. And when he does the 7-year horizon, time becomes the biggest ally. And I think Tatas have that as well. As long as they stay true to this program and to this course where they keep supporting entrepreneurs, they will beat out all those who have short-term goals on that.
Like, for example, they could have offered you 100% acquisition at 2016. Would you have taken it if you look? No.
I didn't need money. They didn't put any secondary in it, right? So let me dial back. Why do you take money from a VC? You take money for 2 reasons. You want to build a brand, right? Second, you want to buy inventory or spend on that. When you partner with a strategic house like Tata's, what are you getting?
You're getting a brand.
You're getting a brand, and you get their balance sheet, because if they are majority shareholders, any bank is willing to give you money on that part. So you can solve the same problem. And to do that, I gave them a discount for them to enter the business as well also for that reason. And they were right in asking that part.
They entered less than 4x, right? Revenue multiple.
Not that. They entered at around, the harder task was to convince Tiger to leave because they just put in money, right, at that point. And there was a slight, they came at 600, it was 570. The currency fluctuation had hurt them. So they had to exit at possibly a flat round at that point. And it was a harder thing for me to do. I could have easily said 180 crores in bank. I don't think I need anybody's help to do anything. And but no, and it didn't. But credit to them that they realize as well that the entrepreneurial spirit is needed to do this thing. But to your question, whether I would have sold, no, I wouldn't have. Then I would have just continued on my own path.
If you look at hindsight, right? Do you think you could have said, Tiger has just entered at 600 crores valuation. If I were to give them an exit, why would I give them less than 1,000 crores? So,
could I have done that? Of course, I tried that. But the need to get Titan in my mind was far greater than that. Titan was willing to have Tiger as well also and continue on the cap table. But Tiger's view was very clear that if a strategic comes in, then I don't want to be around at that point. And also, they had a lot of pain going on with the Flipkart at that point. So I think some of those things played in our favor as well also. Yeah.
Awesome. But it's very hard to imagine, right? Such kind of a marriage taking place so successfully. There are very few examples in India.
Yeah. See, my life has been like that. If you think about, I was a born and brought up Bombay kid living in Chennai.
Which is absolutely disastrous for a Bombay boy.
I actually don't think so. It's my chosen home. But for a lot of people, it is. Yes, I agree with you. My wife is a thoroughbred, born and brought up Manhattan girl. Lives in Chennai over here. So my work has been like that as well also. So the challenge I took on was also a little crazy, one can say. That you have a running business, but you decided to do this thing. So I like a little bit of madness. And what's life without a little drama?
So what are the things that you have learned in this 6 years of partnership with Tata?
The biggest thing they teach you is patience. So, which I didn't have. A lot of impatience in me. I think Tatas have great virtue. Their heart's in the right place. And they try their best to at least get 70% of the organization aligned to having their heart in the right place. There are always going to be 20-30% you have to deal with. Who are going to be there, but you hope that the 70% prevails on them on that. I think they're never short-term thinkers. They're always long-term thinkers. And they're happy to lose today for a greater tomorrow. I have seen that multiple times over, whether it was demonetization and a few other occasions other than that. And I've seen that play out. I've had two of the best teachers in both Bhaskar, who was the MD of Titan then, and Venkat, who was the CEO of the jewelry division then. And I don't think I could have had anybody else. And the third person who I will always be grateful to is Subbu, who was the CFO at Titan then. He literally fought to make this thing happen. So if you believe in something, that you really go for it, but you never marry it so hard to your heart that if it doesn't happen, that your life shakes up. That's something that I've seen as a great trait in them. I think there are also many things you learn what not to do, because in being nice, they also get so caught up that sometimes they're super nice and they don't know how to make tough decisions on that. And that's something which is very equally important to take. I remember watching and reading about code once. I decided I want to learn coding.
Yeah.
And in algorithms, something that spoke very, at least whatever I understood of it, but it makes sense to me, maybe it's not true, is that actually no gives you more insight than yes gives you. So think about Netflix. When people say no for a movie, it's far more insightful than when people give a thumbs up for a movie on that. And they put a lot more value to it. And if you take that to real life, then you think about it, that people should learn to help other people by saying no to them, because in the long run, they all have to believe that guy also has only one life. And so he will go a lot further if he found the right place for himself. There's a right place for everybody, a right company for everybody, a right partner for everybody. By being silent, you might let him float, but you would not do justice to that person or his life over a long period of time. He'll always be bitter, but he'll be around.
Were you so philosophical before the acquisition, or Tata made you so philosophical?
No, I like to think,
Yeah.
I like to analyze, and education also is like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the aim of education should never be to excel, but it should be to be able to learn how to synthesize. And I enjoy that. I mean, I run a class in a school over here called for entrepreneurship. It's actually a guise. It's really not entrepreneurship, it's problem solving. And I feel that my most conversation with those kids also is about how do you synthesize what you're learning. In life, the harder thing is not to find the answer. It is to find the right questions. And so I look forward to always figuring out what's the next question that we're going to solve.
What's the next question for you right now?
I mean, there are obviously some questions I can't speak about.
Sure.
And then there are those questions. I feel like such a fool, right? 14 years, I didn't realize that I was helping people express emotions. I was just selling jewelry. And I feel like such a fool about that. But I'm excited to solve that right now. I also feel that we need to do more with the jewelry we've sold to people. If you think about the role of jewelry in people's life in the 1800s or 1700s, money had a limited role. There was no currency as such. Gold was the currency in some form. Land did not have rental income. You had agricultural produce, you could get that. And banks didn't exist really as such. So the role of gold was very prominent. Circa 2022, banks give you fixed deposits, IOUs, everything can be done. Land's fully fungible. You can borrow against it, you can rent it out to someone, you can discount the rent of the next 10 years and do that as well also. Gold is exactly where it is. Someone has to take the mantle to say that gold has to become both fungible, easy to store, and solve for all the things that it stood for in relation to the other two commodities. And I feel like that's the problem I want to take on and solve.
So gold is the new crypto.
Well, I don't know. Crypto is too smart for me. But gold is certainly asset of value, and an asset of value must always be fully fungible. It's not today. I mean, gold loan, if you look at it, is a terrible market because while it is so easy to cash, the interest rates are crazy. It just doesn't make sense. And then all those people who don't need money, for them, gold is just an asset sitting over there. And the government wants to solve it, but they're not able to solve it. So I think it needs an entrepreneurial spirit to go and solve that problem. And I think for me, all those husbands and all those wives also, many of them who came to the store and always said, but as much as I like wearing jewelry, as much as I like buying jewelry, it's a dead investment. I want to solve that statement. It's not a dead investment.
I have one insight. For the last 5.5 years, I and Nancy have been married. We had either gone to Tanishq or Caratlane. And the positioning has been at least in a life. When buy for design, go to Caratlane. When trying to buy a heavy jewelry or a 22 carat, go to Tanishq. And we have found it all are instances, the service of Caratlane to be better than Tanishq.
I will work on helping Tanishq guys also do better service, but don't make me say things don't say things which will make me lose my job. I think a younger organization finds it easier. It's just, scale has its own challenges as well also. Complacency sets in when you're accomplished in that sense. But I must say that in large organizations, if you were to compare, they would do a very good job as compared to other large organizations on that.
And you have also, given back to entrepreneurship by being an active angel investor. So tell us more about your role. That which other companies?
I actually stay very silent about it. It's not something I speak in public domain
Sure.
on that, because it's a personal investment. It should stay personal. I don't understand why people go writing about it everywhere that I'm doing this and
Yeah.
doing that. But yeah,
Any specific company or domain that you are really bullish about?
I mean, obviously, if you live in Chennai, you've got to be bullish about
SaaS.
SaaS. There is just no way that you can't be.
Yeah.
Even in a market like this, I still think that the value that Chennai and India can provide to the world through SaaS is phenomenal. I also feel that almost every sector in consumer will be disrupted by D2C. The incumbents will get disrupted just by the sheer fact that they're not doing enough to morph themselves.
Yeah.
So when I see opportunities with entrepreneurs who are willing to do that, who need to have 3 skill sets. One, they must understand digital really, really well. Second, they must know how to create and generate demand. They should not be satisfying demand. They should be generating demand. And third is they must be rock solid in merchandise understanding. So the world has become discerning. You can't just go and try and sell any trash. You need to be able to sell significantly better quality merchandise. I mean, look at the t-shirt brands that come on Instagram nowadays. Yeah. The quality of advertising is just phenomenal. I feel embarrassed, when I see that. I say, I didn't even know all this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And now when I just look at an ad and I learn so much about it. So it's happening because those entrepreneurs know what they're doing. Yeah. If I had to buy a shirt today, I mean, I would go to Bombay Shirt Company. I think just basis of the advertising that I see, of what all they teach me about it, or at least it'd be in my consideration set, even if I didn't buy from them.
Yeah.
If I had to buy a t-shirt, I would think about March tea.
Yeah.
And I'd go and do things like that. And for me, all of these are investable businesses because they're really going much deeper than what others are doing. And I'm sure if some expertise of what we've built can be married over there, we'd build a great partnership with them also.
Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful experience, learning your journey, learning the journey of Caratlane. It's amazing, right? How you became one of the most loved D2C brands of India.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you. And thank you for coming all the way to Chennai for this.
And it's been worth it.
Thanks.